We are never too far gone to be touched by grace. John Newton. Let's get straight into a topic that has fascinated people for centuries. What will really happen at the end times? And what does the second coming of Jesus mean for humanity? It's something many have speculated about, but very few fully understand. There are a lot of questions, and perhaps you've wondered the same. When will this happen? What should we expect? Will it be as dramatic as some say, or is there a deeper truth to it all? The end times, as described in the Bible, are often a subject of great debate and mystery. From the book of Revelation, we hear of earthquakes, wars, and signs in the heavens that suggest the world is coming to a close. But what do these things really signify? Are they warnings, or is there more to them? The second coming of Jesus, according to Christian doctrine, will be a moment of profound change for all of humanity. But it's not just about fire and brimstone, it's about renewal, restoration, and judgment. Let's start with the idea of the second coming itself. For many, it's a moment of hope. Jesus' return is anticipated to bring a new heaven and a new earth, where suffering, pain, and injustice are no more. It's a time of ultimate peace, where God's kingdom is fully realized. However, understanding what this means for us now is crucial. We don't have to wait until the end of time to begin preparing our hearts and minds for this new reality. The Bible speaks of signs leading up to the return of Jesus. In the Gospels, particularly in Matthew 24, Jesus himself talks about various signs that will precede his return. There will be wars, famines, and natural disasters. But these aren't just random events, they have significance. They are reminders that the world, as we know it, is temporary. These disturbances are like shaking a tree to get rid of the dead branches. Things need to be cleared away before the new can come. Yet, it's important to note that these signs are not meant to frighten us but to prepare us. Jesus also said that no one knows the exact hour or day of his return, only God knows. So, while it's tempting to try to predict or pinpoint a specific time, the more important question is: how are we living right now? Are we ready? Are we living with the expectation that Christ will return? Or are we lost in the distractions of daily life, too preoccupied to pay attention to the deeper meaning? In understanding the second coming, it's also crucial to understand the idea of judgment. The Bible tells us that at the end of time, there will be a final judgment where each person will be held accountable for their actions. This isn't about condemnation but about a time of truth. A moment when we stand before God and answer for how we've lived our lives. Have we chosen love? Have we chosen kindness, compassion, and justice? The second coming is not just about what happens to the world. It's also about what happens to each of us as individuals. While judgment may seem like a daunting concept, it's important to note that the judgment Jesus speaks of is also an opportunity for redemption. It's about transformation, about aligning ourselves with God's will and becoming the people we were always meant to be. In many ways, the second coming is not just a future event but a present reality we are invited to live into today. One of the most profound aspects of the second coming is the promise of a new heaven and a new earth. Revelation 21 describes a vision of a world where God's presence dwells with humanity, and there is no more suffering, pain, or death. This vision of the future is one of ultimate hope, and it's a reminder that the end is not truly the end, it's the beginning of something even more beautiful. God's kingdom, though it may seem distant, is already among us, and we are called to be active participants in bringing it about. In today's world, it can be easy to focus on the negative. We see suffering, injustice, and division, and it's easy to wonder if the world is truly coming to an end. But these struggles are not the end of the story. The second coming of Jesus offers a reminder that there is a greater plan at work, and while things may seem chaotic, God is still in control. The world is not spinning out of control, it is being prepared for something greater. As we consider what the second coming means for us personally, it's vital to think about how we are living in the present. Are we prepared? Are we living with a sense of hope and purpose, or are we caught up in the distractions of this world? It's not about fear or anxiety over when Jesus will return, but about living with the understanding that we are part of a greater story. Living in anticipation of the second coming means living with purpose. It means striving to align our lives with the values Jesus taught: love, forgiveness, humility, and service to others. When we do this, we are actively participating in the kingdom of God, which is already here in part and will be fully realized in the future. This also brings us to the topic of salvation. The second coming is not just a time of judgment, it is a time of salvation. Jesus came the first time to offer redemption to all who believe in him. And his second coming will bring that salvation to its full completion. For those who have accepted Christ, the second coming represents the fulfillment of God's promises. It's the moment when all things are made right. But what about those who don't believe? The second coming is also a time for the world to see the full revelation of who Jesus is. It's an opportunity for all people, no matter where they are on their spiritual journey, to see the truth and to have the chance to turn toward God. While this is a sobering thought, it is also a message of grace. God's love is offered to everyone, and it is never too late to turn toward that love. The song, "Amazing Grace," has seen countless renditions over the years. And its legacy has grown into something far beyond its original purpose. But what made it resonate with so many people? What made it more than just a hymn in church, but a song sung by people from all walks of life? To answer that, we have to understand the man behind the lyrics, John Newton. Newton was a man who, at one point, lived a life in the complete opposite direction of what his famous words would later convey. He was born in 1725 and grew up under the care of a devout mother. Unfortunately, she passed away when he was just a child, and he was left to be raised by his father, a man with little time for matters of the heart. His father's work as a sea captain led young John into the harsh world of ships and sailors. Newton's early life was filled with rebellion, and he eventually found himself serving on a slave ship, participating in the very trade that would haunt him for the rest of his life. In the end, the second coming of Jesus is about hope, renewal, and transformation. It's a time when all things will be made new. It's a moment that all Christians look forward to, but it's also a moment that calls us to action in the present. We can't wait passively for Christ's return. We are called to live in such a way that we are preparing the world for his arrival. This means being agents of love, peace, and justice in a world that desperately needs it. As we await the return of Christ, let us not be consumed by fear or anxiety about the end times. Instead, let us focus on how we can bring about the kingdom of God here and now. Let's live with hope, purpose, and faith, knowing that the end is not the end, but the beginning of something much greater. The second coming is a time to rejoice, a time to reflect on our own lives, and a time to prepare our hearts for the fulfillment of God's promises. Let us live in anticipation of that glorious day, confident that it will be a time of ultimate peace, healing, and restoration. So, what happens at the end times? It's not just about destruction, it's about renewal, a fresh start, and the ultimate victory of love and justice. Jesus' second coming will be the final act in a divine drama that will restore all things. It's a beautiful and powerful reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, God's light is always shining, preparing the way for a future filled with hope and peace. As we wait, let's live with this vision in our hearts, ready for the day when Jesus returns to make all things new.